Welcome to T1 Academy. In our series on the road to IELTS, our free resource class for you all to score a band 9 in the IELTS examination, today we shall look at the listening tasks. What are the different tasks that are there as part of the listening module of the IELTS examination and how we as aspirants are expected to crack it in no time. Now, as we all know, the listening test is based on 4 recordings. The listening test is based on 4 recordings, okay, and has a set of 40 questions that you have to answer in a duration of about just 30 minutes. Now, the IELTS general and academic test listening segment is more or less the same. They're quite identical. And in response to the 4 recordings, you have to provide answers or respond to 40 questions that are asked. Now, there are 4 recordings that you're expected to listen and respond to. And all these 4 recordings are a mix of monologue and dialogues. That is, they could be monologues and they are conversations. That is, it's a combination of both. And these are taken from a variety of native speakers. As we already know, these speakers are from the UK, the US, Canada, Australia. Okay, like we've discussed in our previous classes, the only difference there is the dialect and the accent in which English is spoken as a language in the different lands, but the base of the language remains the same. Now, this test gauges your comprehension of principal concepts and in-depth factual data, how well you can interpret, the views and behaviors of speakers, how well you can comprehend them, the reason for making a particular statement if it is made during the course of the recording, and also your capacity to follow the ideas and their growth. So these are the various skills that are recorded, that are tested and evaluated as part of the listening module of the IELTS examination. Now, what are the details? The first recording or the first listening context that you hear is a 2-person conversation that takes place in a typical social setting. The second recording is a monologue presented in a typical social setting, such as a speech on neighborhood amenities or facilities. The third recording is a discussion between up to 4 people. So it could be 2, 3 or 4, which takes place in an educational or training atmosphere, such as a discussion between a tutor and a university professor who are talking about an assignment or something. And a fourth recording that you hear, the last one, is also a monologue about a subject in school, like a lecture in a university. So these are the details of the recordings. Now let's move on to the segments of the questions. Now there are multiple questions and segments of questions that one is expected to answer as part of the listening module. The first one being the multiple options. That is, you have to choose the right response from one among the options A, B or C. The start of a phrase followed by 3 different ways to finish it could be one way of the question that is asked. You will be shown a lengthier list of potential solutions and informed that you have to select probably more than one answer in multiple choice questions when you select more than one accurate response. Now, a variety of skills are tested here and you'll have to go through understanding some of the details and general comprehension texts, listening comprehension texts for the key ideas. So you have to pay very keen attention to the text, to the audio when it is going on, because they might ask you even to check for the minutest of details possible. Moving on to matching, you have to match a numbered list of elements from the listening audio to a set of available choices on the examination question paper. The list of choices could be any sort of a criteria. It could be names, dates, years, something like that, as mentioned in your audio text. Matching tests your ability to listen carefully and determines if you follow a discourse over a common subject, like distinguishing various hotel or guest home accommodations. It evaluates your capacity to follow a 2-person conversation as well. Remember, you are taking the IELTS examination to go abroad and study. You should have the ability and the capacity to follow the instructions or the conversations and try and build upon them. And that is the reason they conduct this listening exam. Now, it also evaluates your capacity to follow a 2-person conversation and may be used to gauge how well you identify links and interconnections among data in the listening context or in your listening text. Moving on to map, plan and diagram labeling, one of the most toughest segments, everybody usually prays and hopes that they never get a map interpretation. Now, on a diagram, a map or a plan such as that of a building, you are expected to fill labels. Probably they ask you as soon as you enter a room, to my left there is a piece of sofa, to my right there's a television, or there's a couch and there's a hanger. So who's left and who's right are we talking about? So that kind of a clarity one is expected to have when they're attempting a map or a diagram test, because you're expected to label that in the numbers. Remember, you don't get the map. All you get is your answer script and you get numbers 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5, wherein you're expected to put the correct labeling. Which piece of furniture was on the left? Which piece of furniture was on the right? So that's how typically a list of options is provided for you to choose from on the question paper. Sometimes you're expected to answer it without the options. Now, your ability to comprehend, for instance, a place description and connect it to the visual description is evaluated when you are doing this kind of a matching exercise. Being able to follow verbal cues for directions such as straight on or opposite or turn left or right fall under this category, because there is a map and a plan involved for you to listen to the description and then match your answers accordingly. Now, you must complete this job by filling the blanks in an outline of all or portion of the listening text. The important facts in the text will be the emphasis of the outline. It could be used, for example, a document used to record specific names, addresses and telephone numbers. They could be talking about that. A group of notes that summarize information by demonstrating several elements that link each other. Okay? A table that summarizes data related to distinct categories such as a place of visit, time or prices of different elements and commodities. That also is possible. A flow chart, a visual representation of a process that has distinct stages, processes, and it is used to summarize some kind of a flow work. Either way, you will need to choose the missing words from a chart on the exam question paper or based on the recording. Now, you must use the exact words. Now, here comes the catch. For the listening exam, which seems otherwise very easy for people who are good at English language, you are supposed to use the exact words that you hear on the tape, and you have to adhere to the word count specified in the instruction. So we cannot use a synonym or a word that is likely identical and similar to the one that is spoken on the audio text. We cannot do that. Because there will be variation in words or figures you need to use, you follow the directions carefully. If there is a word restriction specified which says no more words than 2 words or a certain number, then check for the word limit for each question carefully, because if you answer without words and your response may be flagged as incorrect. So if you cross the number of words that is actually specified in your instructions, your answer may be flagged as being incorrect. However, words such as don't and won't will not be tested, but hyphenated words like policeman are counted as single words. Now, the essential point here is that the listener would naturally take it down in such a circumstance as is the focus of this gap filling exercise. So one has to be really careful, because this gap filling exercise it occurs in a natural circumstance. So you're expected to understand the natural circumstance which is going to happen to you in the future when you move abroad. Now, the next segment is sentence completion. Here, you're supposed to complete the task by listening to every paragraph, and it is also possible that the same might come from a single area in the entire given text. Alright, the listening text would then be used to fill up the gaps in each sentence. There's a word limit specified, such as not more than 1 word or a particular number. It could be 2 or 3 words, okay? Because there will be variations in the words or figures, you need to carefully follow the instructions which are specified, such as do not use more than 2 words or a particular number. Check for the word limit. If you cross the word limit, then your answer is flagged as incorrect. And sentence completion tests your capacity to spot important details in hearing a text, and you should also be able to comprehend casual and other functional links that are specified in your listening comprehension. Now, moving on to the short answer questions, or the quick response questions as they're called. You must read the question in a short answer question type before using the information from the listening text to produce a brief response. You're expected to write down your response. Test takers may occasionally be asked to mention 2 or 3 points in response to a question. So another toughest task, writing a word or two is very easy. But then listening to the text as it goes and then making a note and then writing 2 or 3 points related to that also gets a little tough. But to make this easy, we have sample papers coming up. We shall discuss how to go about with listening and using techniques which help you remember your answers well. There's a word restriction specified, so you have to stick to the word restriction or else your answer is flagged as incorrect. Now, short answer questions emphasize on your ability to listen to specific information. Specific information, especially something that is connected to location, pricing and costing, and also time frame. So these are the things that are usually there in your short answer type questions. So that was about the listening tasks and the kind of questions and the expectation of the examiner from the aspirant. For other skill details as well as the nuances of the LSRW skills to crack your code of the IELTS examination and also sample test papers and how to crack them to score a band 9 on your IELTS, keep watching Tone Academy. Don't forget to subscribe, like and share extensively all the videos that are posted on our channel. Thank you for watching.